Hello YouTube, my name is Ashton Colby, and I am going to make this much needed YouTube video. I'm going to put a trigger warning here because I'm going to be talking about anatomy and things that really make me a little irritated. A very common question that transgender people get over and over and over again are, do you have a penis or a vagina? There are so many reasons why that is wrong to ask. If anybody asks anybody else, do you have a penis or a vagina? You're saying, I want to know what your genitals look like. I have a strong curiosity as to know exactly what your junk looks like. You would never go up to anybody on the street and say, excuse me, do you have a penis or a vagina? People think that the second that they learn you're transgender, they then can ask you that question. You're basically saying, oh, now that you're trans, even though I wouldn't ask this to anybody else on the street because it would be disrespectful, because you're trans, that goes out the window, and I'm going to ask you that anyway. It just reflects a very wider societal view that transgender people are somehow different than any regular human being and an oddity, and it's kind of objectifying when you think that you can just ask them whatever you want and basic respect doesn't really apply to them because they're trans. It doesn't matter. I can ask them those invasive questions and it's totally fine. I don't think what people realize what they're doing when they're asking that question. They're upholding the idea that men with vaginas are less than or women with penises are less than, and it's so problematic because literally transgender women especially are literally killed or victims of violence and harassment. Trans people are victims of violence and harassment every day because someone, you know, finds out what their anatomy is or whatever and views them as less than a human being or less than a man or less than a woman or less than a person in general, and thinks that that is an excuse to then target them for violence because of their anatomy. So when you're asking a trans person what their anatomy is, you're saying that that is important and you hold value in the answer to that question. And it gives society the power to hold value over that trans person, that yes, they are different because of their anatomy, and really they are no different than any other person. But people think that it's relevant to their lives to know that about a trans person. They think, well, I'm just trying to be an ally. I want to understand, so I think that it's important to ask these types of questions. I just want to know. I'm just curious. I'm just trying to get a better understanding. And that's totally awesome that you want to know more about transgender things, and it's totally awesome that you're trying to be an ally and learn about trans things, and you're open to learning new things. Great. But the problem is that it's making the assumption with that question that it's somehow going to, with knowing the answer to that question, going to make you a better ally. And it's not. It's just going to make the trans person feel uncomfortable because it doesn't help you be a better ally or understand the struggle of a trans person knowing what's between their legs. People think that because they're a trans person, they can ask, like, have you had the surgery yet? And when you ask that question, basically what you're asking is, do you have a penis or do you have a vagina? You're asking the same question, but in a different way. When you ask a transgender person about their anatomy down there and about their body and things like that, it can make them so uncomfortable because why do you think transgender people transition? And it causes a lot of dysphoria. That's why trans people transition. They don't want to think about all that. So you don't need to ask about it, bring it up. If you were really insecure about something or really didn't like something about yourself or anything like that, and someone was like asking you questions about it, you would get a little irritated. You would probably be like, I don't really want to talk about that. Can we talk about something else? It's just rude because you're bringing up something that makes everybody uncomfortable. Do you really want to, like, talk about people's genitals? It doesn't make any sense to me why someone, other than, like, awkward curiosity, I mean, I would be embarrassed to ask somebody else that. And if you think a trans person is sexy, which of course there are very sexy trans people out there in the world, just like there is sexy everybody in the world. If you think a trans person is attractive and you want to know more about them on a personal level like that, maybe start by offering to buy them coffee or something like that, instead of asking them point blank, very anatomy science, like really awkward questions like that, because you wouldn't do that to anybody else that you found attractive. You would just ask them to have a date, have a coffee, whatever, hang out, talk, and don't, just like any other human being that you might want to get their clothes off, you don't start with just asking them, do you have a penis or a vagina? And honestly, if that makes a difference, if you want to sleep with a person or not, you might want to reevaluate your priorities in life, because sex is not all about penis going in vagina. And if you if you think this is all that sex is, then I feel really bad for your partners, because there is a lot more things that bodies can do, because bodies are so amazing and awesome and can be enjoyed in so many different ways. So yeah. So if you have anything to add in the comments, or liking and subscribing, all of that really helps this channel grow, and that's why I want to do it. I'm still available on Tumblr, Facebook, you can follow me on Instagram, and I also have an email below for transition related questions. I'm probably not going to read too many comments on this video, just because it gets really touchy, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be saying some ignorant things, even though I tried to spell it out in very, very basic 101 language. So thank you so much for all the support, and I'm going to keep making videos.